It's about 7,000 people living over here. There were a couple of resorts which closed about 20 years ago. They just weren't busy enough. But there are still a couple of bed and breakfasts and a couple of condo complexes over here.
How fast are these, Sam?
How fast does it feel?
5 miles an hour.
We're doing, our ground speed is 124 knots. We have a little bit of a tailwind. So 100 knots would be 113 miles per hour. It's 1.13 to 1. So right now we're doing our ground speed, probably 142. Doesn't feel like it, does it?
No, not at all.
So Morgan, can you see the two little rock islands up ahead of us? Does that look like an animal that lives out here in the water to you?
Looks like a turtle cave.
Yeah. I concur. That's what it should be called. Turtle Rock or Turtle Island. Somebody actually named it Elephant Rock. It's a breeding ground for hammerhead sharks. And Lahaina Divers is the only boat that comes to this island, and they go scuba diving with them a couple times a month. Unfortunately, they're down at like 80, 120 feet, so we don't get to see them from up here. Dolores, the reef over here, second longest of the Hawaiian Islands. It's about 34 miles long. Makes it the second longest outer reef in the world. The longest one is the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. When we get done with the North Shore, we'll come back over here because I think it's one of the prettiest reefs of the Hawaiian Islands. So Amy, all these little flattened areas up ahead of us is a small cattle ranch called the Murphy Ranch. I think they raise just enough cattle to call it a ranch because half the time I can't find them. So Brad, a lot of this reef down here is 2 to 6 feet deep in water. Some of the deeper holes 20 to 30. So Kevin, this valley up ahead of us is called Halava. That is where the Hawaiians first settled when they came to this island. And the experts think it was back in 650 AD. And they figure there's about 5,000 Hawaiians living in the valley. There are 12 today. A couple of years ago, one of them came to visit with us, talked to us about the valley and the island. 50th generation. So we stay out of there, but when we get to the top, I'll do a little turn, you can look down. No services, it's also where the road ends. On the side of the island. Now the north side of the island, the experts think, used to go out an additional 2 to 3 miles. And then due to a big earthquake, that side of the island fell off, creating the tallest sea cliffs in the world. They're up to 3,500 feet in elevation. valley here. All right, I got a question for everybody. Have you seen the Jurassic Park movies?
I haven't. Yep.
You remember the beginning? In the beginning of the third one, they were doing something behind a boat. Remember what they were doing? Then they're looking for their son. They crash the twin-engine airplane. This is where they were parasailing along the cliffs. So we're going to head over to Papalua Waterfall. This one's about 2,000 feet tall, top to bottom. And it's one of the waterfalls I've never, ever seen dry. Dolores, all these light green trees scattered around are the kukui nut tree, which is our state tree. So if you've seen the leis or bracelets with the block of brown nut, it comes from that tree. And that's one of the trees the Hawaiians brought with them. They called it a candle nut tree. They used the oil from the nut for their torches. It was the only source of oil they had. So Molokai is about 1.7 million years old. You got another rainbow right there. 3 volcanoes made it up. This first valley is called Wailau. The back of that valley is one of the old volcanoes. Amy, the little peninsula out ahead of us with the lighthouse on it is called Kalapapa. That is the old leper colony, set up in 1866 by King Kamehameha V. Lasted for over 100 years.
How is food and everything brought over the islands that people that still inhabit?
There is a barge that comes over here. There's a little harbor on the other side of that. There's another harbor on the other side of the island, and there's also an airport up in the central part of the island. So back in the day, if they found out you had Hansen's disease, that's what they used to call leprosy. They'd park between the 2 little rock islands directly ahead of us. Proceed to throw you and your belongings overboard. They didn't know where the disease came from. They didn't know how to cure it. All they knew is they wanted to get rid of you. Another valley off to the left there, Brad, is Pelekunu Valley, another old volcano. Just doing a big slow turn here. So they actually mapped the bottom of the ocean. They found the pieces that came off here 70 miles behind us.